Welcome to the Lotus Focus Tea Party Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Paula.
And I'm Coach Crystal, Coach with a K.
And each week, we will bring you insightful interviews, thought-provoking commentary on ADHD and executive functioning. Our goal is to provide you with the knowledge and insights to deepen your understanding of living and thriving with ADHD.
Once again, my name is Coach Crystal, and we help neurodivergent people thrive in a neurotypical world. And on today's podcast, we're exploring how to support somebody with ADHD.
Yes.
So we have this kind of put together for you guys today. We're going to look at some of the stereotypes of people with ADHD, and we're going to give some personal experiences, some of our clients' experiences, and then guess what? We're going to give you some recommendations, some things that you can say to help other people, and some things that other people can do to help you.
Absolutely. And so we kind of want to start with some of the stereotypes that we commonly hear as people with ADHD and our clients here as well. So things that are really common that the general population thinks about people with ADHD.
So they think, okay, you guys know this already. You've probably heard it. Oh my gosh. So they think we're lazy. People think we are unmotivated. They think we're all over the place, which we are. We are, but we try not to be. We really do. They think we're not goal-oriented, which good. We are goal-oriented. I'm telling you, at least we are. Good grief. And they think, oh, that person's so unorganized. And yeah, we can be very unorganized. That's how our brains are. They're very unorganized. But what I'm really trying to say is that you can be a lot of things in this world, but don't be ADHD, because the world doesn't like that sometimes. And so that's really, where we're going with that.
And it really makes it hard for people, to see themselves as someone with ADHD, and they see the label instead. They see themselves as an ADHDer or
I like it.
ADHDer, or they see it as the label, and then it causes them to not want to seek a diagnosis, help. Like if they're a student, college student, or high school, they will deny it, say, oh, it's not that bad, or, they are afraid to get diagnosed because they don't want that label, they don't want that stigma. And that is changing a little bit today versus, let's say, 10 years ago, but we still have a long way to go. And so, because there are a lot of stereotypes, there's a lot of people who don't understand what ADHD is. Some don't even believe it's real, and they don't know how to help. And so today we're also going to give you some strategies on how to support someone with ADHD. What can you do as a parent, as a brother, cousin, as a spouse of someone with ADHD? What are some strategies to be supportive of someone who is challenged, by executive functioning?
There are so many things that we can do. And people just don't know. And that's what makes it hard. When you have it and you are it, however you want to present yourself as somebody with ADHD. And I think that the anxiety that's caused by the people that don't understand and the people around you actually make it so much harder, because it's what shuts you down. That anxiety and that shame was the big word. The shame shuts you down.
Right. That makes you not want to get diagnosed, not want to pursue those services. And also it's demotivating when it comes to helping yourself and being proactive and, taking a chance. And with ADHD, you need hope. You need hope and belief that things get better, and that when you put effort in, things can change. And when you have a community of people around you that don't even believe in ADHD, don't think it's real, that's really hard. Mm-hmm. And so, it reminds me of this, situation where I was talking to someone, they were like, yeah, so someone said, just you try harder, you're lazy, da-da. I was like, well, ask them to take off their glasses. People in the room, tell them to take off their glasses and ask them to read something. And then when they start to struggle, ask them, what's wrong? What's wrong? Are you lazy? You need to try harder. Yeah. Vision, and that's your eyes, right? It's part of your body. So is your brain. The brain is one of the most important part of your body. And so it's just another organ. And so, we're understanding when it comes to our eyeballs, but not our brain. And so,
and I can tie something to that. ADHD medication is like glasses, okay? And this is for everybody to think about. It's like glasses, okay? It helps you see and helps you navigate your environment. And it works just like glasses. When the medication is not active, you take the glasses off, you can't see. The medication's not active, it's not helping with the ADHD at that point. And so that's why, we will say it's important to have both coaching and medicine if that's the route you want to take with medicine. But yeah, that's the sight. You need it to see.
Right, it's your tool.
Sometimes
we talk
your
about
tools. You need your tools to see.
Building your toolbox, and we need a toolbox for every challenge. Just like we need glasses to to improve our vision, we need a set of tools to overcome each challenge. And so it's essential. And I think if people around us in our environment would see it that way, as the support that they can provide and the things that we do to improve our success in life in general, that if they see that as a tool like glasses, maybe it won't be so stigmatized.
Yeah. Get astigmatized.
I know, right?
Like astigmatism.
Like
yeah, you got the joke, right?
Yes.
All right. So yeah, we can talk about the ways that we can help. And so one of the first ways that somebody else can help a person with ADHD is to learn about it. Learn about it. Take the time to learn about it. You love this person, and this person is doing things that you don't understand. So you got to learn about it, And it makes perfect sense that the person helping with ADHD is going to be frustrated. This is a very frustrating thing for the people around them. Learn about it. It's going to help you so much better to make any type of move towards helping.
Right. And it also gives you personal insight to what's going on in their head, what their life is like, at least a little bit of an insight glimpse, and it'll reduce the stereotypes if you have that knowledge. It'll reduce your automatic assumptions about their capabilities, their abilities. And you'll, on top of that, it'll allow you to have more grace and more patience for people that you love that are in your life. And it's not, oh, you're lazy, you need to try harder. It's, how can I help you?
Right.
It's,
that's the question right there. That is the big question. How can I help you? How can I help you is what both parties, the ADHD person and the non-ADHDer, can ask each other. How can I help you? Because that helps put you in their court in a way. Like you're on, looking at it from their view. And so it inspires each person to help the other person, which is important.
I mean, people with ADHD, we're not out here to ruin the lives of people, that we love. We're not trying to make their lives harder.
As a matter of fact, we sit there and usually while we're not doing the things we're supposed to be doing, we're worried about how we hurt that other person.
Right.
And so when somebody comes, when you go to your ADHD partner or friend or whatever, and you're like, well, why didn't you call me back? And that person's like, well, I have ADHD, but I'm not going to come out and say, hey, it's because I have ADHD, because you just can't do that.
Or if we're late, some people take it personally. Like, oh, you must not care, because you're late, or you're not taking this job seriously because you're late. And has nothing to do.
No,
with
I'm late because I put my sock on inside out, and then I went outside and it was raining and it was a little bit cold and I forgot my jacket when I was halfway to work, and so I had to turn around and go back because I realized that I was going to be freezing all day long. Because we don't have that foresight. And that's why I was late. It's not because I don't care, because I really do.
Or we grossly underestimated how long it takes to get from point A to point B. Because there's 1,000 other things that happen in between there that we didn't, calculate. and weren't aware of because we're not natural planners. And
Nope.
so,
Nope.
and
That time blindness is something. I'm telling you what.
and that is why, not because, we're trying to be rude or disrespectful or don't like you, don't want to be there, not take it seriously, has nothing to do with that.
And
it's not
also,
about you or anyone else.
it's not because we can't be on time. Because we
Right.
can.
Right.
I'm actually very punctual, right? Like I actually
Right.
pretty punctual, but that's because I've figured out a way to be that way. And it's not
Right.
going to be like that all the time though. But it's harder for me.
Right.
That's the thing. Being with ADHD, it is harder for that person to do
Right.
those things. And so you kind of have to give them a chance to try to figure out how they're going to do it. I do it by putting on blinders and, and I've said this before, and walking through out the door when I'm supposed to be out that door. And if something breaks,
Oh, well, keep going.
just keep going.
Blinders.
You have to think about it later. Yeah, because you can't do anything, because it's going to take you a long time to do it. And that's how I get on time when I need to be on time.
Right. And everyone, because you made a good point, everyone with ADHD experiences it a little bit differently. And so like your strength, could be my weakness and vice versa. And so I may be like, I'm very good at planning. I get everything down on the calendar, but I don't schedule anything too early because I will be 1 minute late to everything. If it's 7 a.m., forget about it, right?
Yeah.
And I really like my sleep, and I slowly wind up in the morning. If I'm rushing, it makes me feel overwhelmed. So I need to have a slow wind up.
Yeah.
I think everyone with ADHD needs a wind up.
You got to
right?
give yourself a lot of time to start your day.
Right.
Your engine needs to warm up for a lot longer than other people's engine does.
Exactly.
You just you're still recovering from the day before, because a lot of times people with ADHD don't sleep very well. That is very common. We don't sleep very well.
They have very busy minds.
Yeah.
And so that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And on top of that, a lot of people with ADHD have other challenges too, So a large percentage, 50 to 60% of people with ADHD actually have anxiety as well.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes they're dealing with something besides ADHD. And so that's another consideration is, a fifth of everyone with ADHD has depression. And so you have to understand that your son, daughter, your husband, wife, your friend, cousin, they may have more than ADHD.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take a lot of grace. It's going to take a lot of support and collaboration, understanding to help them to be present in a way that is beneficial in their lives.
Yeah, and then you have, like the spectrum, autism. That's another animal with ADHD.
Yeah. Tourette's.
Tourette's. We've had clients with that. Bipolar. And then you could have multiples of those on top of each other. And so
learning disabilities are very common.
Yes, learning
as well.
disabilities. So, I did read recently that a very high percentage of people that have ADHD and autism together are actually very, very, very intelligent.
Yes.
Like a really high percentage of them have above average or above of intelligence, and just people with ADHD in general.
Yeah.
That may be for several reasons,
slightly
but
higher than average. And that's frustrating too, because they want to succeed. They want to be successful in life, in academics and in their workplaces and in their relationships. That desire is there, but it's difficult when they have multiple different things going on. Especially ADHD alone is a challenge, and then you add in anxiety, or you add in depression or autism, and it's a double whammy there.
Right.
And so there's a lot that they're having to overcome to fully show up in their own lives.
Right. And I think so, moving on from there, with the recommendations, separating the person from the symptoms can be a hard thing to do, but it is what you need to do. You have to after knowing what those symptoms are in that particular person and how they present, and separating that from what that person is. That person is not lazy.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
I've never met somebody with ADHD that is lazy. I've met a person
Literally.
I've met a person that's very
Right.
depressed. I've met a person that's shut down. Never lazy.
Exactly.
Never lazy, because
Right.
we're always trying as hard as we can to keep up. And so, you may be sitting there
Always overcompensating.
ruminating about being, a lot of people with ADHD are telling themselves
Right.
they're lazy, and they don't realize that it's not lazy.
And they're very
It's that you
consciously
can't.
aware as well
Yeah.
of, how they're presenting and the challenges they have and the burden on others. They're very aware of that, and to have it pointed out by people who don't understand ADHD is, that extra stab. And so they're very self-conscious, and some of them even have taken on a certain level of shame and guilt. And,
there's that word again.
right.
That's shame. It's shame.
Right.
And that's what does it. That is what shuts ADHD down from getting any better, from somebody learning how to improve themselves, is that shame. That shame is
Right.
what shuts us down. That anxiety shuts down that prefrontal cortex. And so it's so important that that person can understand that what's going on with them is not their fault. It's not laziness. It is not a lazy to do these things. It
and
is
it's also more
neurodivergent.
to if you want someone in your life to improve on their behaviors, it's important that you speak positive words to them. Our brain will believe everything you tell it, and everything adheres, and especially when it's consistent. A lot of research on that with children, especially when we consistently hear things, we tend to believe them. So if you're told your whole life that you're capable, you're intelligent, you can do this, you're more likely to do that.
Right.
And that surpasses even IQ, and so when someone believes in their ability to achieve something, but if someone's saying you're lazy, and you're this, you're that, and that, you're disorganized and all these things, you can't do this and you can't do that, it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
And you take that power and energy from you, especially as a child who's very susceptible, to those messages from someone like a parent. And so it's really, really important that we're careful with our words for those who are in support of those with ADHD, who are family members and loved ones of people with ADHD, to really mind your words. It's very powerful.
Yeah, mind your words with it, because, that person, they probably have been told those things for a really long time. You kind of have to undo it, and you gotta undo those things. And help. I mean, you don't have to do it; they have to do it. But you got to help them do it. And so don't tell them that over and over and over. Just like what Paula was saying. See, I'm getting all emotional over here because it happened to me. Because the whole time I was growing up, I was a mess. And mother was like, "You're a mess. You don't know how to clean anything. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "No, I know how to clean. You taught me how to clean." And she's even like beating herself up. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. She's beating herself up because she's saying, I didn't do it right. I didn't help her learn how to clean. I didn't, but no, you did. I know how to clean. And when I clean really well.
Right.
But it's that doing it.
It takes a lot of energy. It takes twice the energy for someone who's neurodiverse and does for someone who's neurotypical. And so cleaning a pantry, for example, or someone with ADHD, when they see the chaos, which is maybe their pantry or their junk drawer or their closet, it's overwhelming. It's anxiety provoking to a certain degree to some of them, and especially they have anxiety. And our brains are wired to avoid anything that it deems boring, anything that it deems anxiety, and boredom is anxiety to the brain. And so it wants to avoid. It wants to, put it off, procrastinate and whatnot. And so it's very, very difficult. So, when someone says, why can't you do that? It's easy, it's simple. What's wrong with you, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that task is overwhelming to the ADHD brain. And you add in anxiety, you add in depression, and it's the double whammy, and it's very, very difficult. And so it's important to, have the knowledge, understanding what is ADHD, what is going on in the ADHD mind. But, also, being careful, with our words when we, speak to someone with ADHD, give them the benefit of the doubt. And, assume first that maybe they're challenged because of their ADHD, because their executive functioning, there's an area of development. And there's a lot of power, let's say a parent or spouse, they have a lot of power when it comes to supporting them, encouraging them. And in regards to support can look like all kinds of different things. And so, what would you say for you? What do you like when in regards to support for areas that you work on? What do you want from people around you as support? What does that look like?
Oh, for support for me, my husband helps me a lot. Okay, and it's important for me with ADHD to reach out to him and say, hey, I cannot get started doing this to save my life. Can you please help me? And when I say help me, him just being in the room is enough to get me to get it done. Just, and without judgment, being in the room, just saying, hey, I need to clean this area. Can you just sit here on your phone? And that body doubling is enough. It's enough stimulation for me to get it done.
It's
and plus,
accountability.
Yeah, it's accountability. And plus, I like him being there too,
Right.
And so, and that's the accountability thing. And that's why it's so important,
Right.
And having that just extra, and even if and it's even better if the person helps you, because you get to bond with that person as they're doing it in a way, But I do want to mention something, in the last thing you were saying. Nobody with ADHD that I have ever met has wanted to have ADHD. Not a single one of them. And so I hear people, I've heard this multiple times, like, you're just saying that, or you're just, that's just, you go to that every time there's something wrong. And it's like, well, yeah, because that is what's making it do that. And so, but I don't want to have that. I don't want it to be that way. Oh my gosh, no. Because it's difficult. There's stigma around it. I'm anxious because my surroundings are unorganized, because my brain's unorganized, because my feelings and everything are unorganized, and I have no foresight. That is extremely frustrating.
Right.
I don't know how to have a conversation with myself in my brain.
Right. And trying harder is not the solution.
Trying harder is not the solution, because
just try harder, you'll be on time. Just try harder.
Well,
it's like, what does that
sucks.
even mean?
I've heard that one more. I've heard that one more than anything. Just try harder, and there's always like a to meaning person that comes to you and is like, well, if you just motivate yourself a little bit more, then you can do. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Yeah. What do you mean motivate myself a little bit more? And we have special ways of motivating ourselves with ADHD. Mm-hmm. And so...
Right. And we just had an ADHD moment.
Yeah, we did at the same time there. Anyways, yeah, go on.
The screen in front of us changed, and we're both very distracted.
Yeah, it shut us down. Do you see that? It's like the screen changed in front of us, and we were just like...
left.
Yep.
Right.
But we'll come back. Just give us a second. Give us a second.
Right. And one thing I also wanted to mention is that dynamic that can be created, especially like in a relationship with a significant other, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatnot. It's important that we, the neurotypical person, the person without ADHD, doesn't take on that role of that parent that is directing the child, is not always telling them, what they to do. And so, because that could be coming from a place where you don't feel like they're capable of it, and they may receive that message. You don't trust that they are able to overcome that challenge. And so think about all the messaging that, is received when you are always telling. And plus, it doesn't give them an opportunity to learn and develop in that area if you're always doing it for them, or you're always making those automatic assumptions about their capabilities. People with ADHD are fully capable of doing most of everything that they intend to. They have the ability to. It just takes twice the effort, maybe 3 times the effort.
Yeah.
It takes a tremendous amount of effort. And so when they say, "Why are you late?" You're not trying. They're trying. They tried probably 10 times harder than you do.
Oh yeah.
You did that morning to be on time. And so it just didn't work out for them for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
And those are things that get worked out in coaching. Those are things that get worked out as you practice these executive function tools at home and in your life. And so and that's also something we talk about. What can you do as people who support those with ADHD? Is being fully present, being patient, being understanding. Acknowledging their lived experience is critical. Acknowledging and what they're going through and validating that for them is powerful.
Yeah, because people with ADHD, we have trauma. Lots of us, we've created it not out of because we wanted to, but just because that's how the unorganized and all of that. It sucks. And then you have another person, you're always coming across people that don't understand it, no matter what. And then they make it worse by by judging you over it. And you're just like, okay, well, I'm being judged again for the thing that I can't help. And I can't use it as an excuse either. I can't use ADHD as an excuse, but you have to try to change it when you have that, dynamic from it's not an excuse, it's a reason,
right.
Which I may have said before, but it is not an excuse, it is a reason. And when you do that, you still have responsibility to get these things, to help yourself and to get better at these things, but then you can work on accomplishing them instead of not doing anything. You're
right.
responsible for those.
Right.
And so the person who's helping you with this or is trying to support you in ADHD and happens to be that in that parent-child dynamic kind of needs to take the position of helping instead of parenting. Because suddenly you look at it and you're like, oh, wait, I can help this person do this. You love that person. Help the person do it. Help the person.
Partner with them.
Partner with them.
Be a team. And people with ADHD need a team around them that understands what they're going through and that their lived experience and what it's going on in their head. They need a team around them that is supportive so they can thrive.
Yeah.
And without that, it's challenging. It's very challenging. Yeah. And I think it's important to acknowledge for people, especially within relationships and dynamics, to acknowledge the challenge. Say, hey, this is what's going on in our relationship. This is how your ADHD impacts this relationship. I think that's important, but not come at it from a place of judgment.
No.
And not come at it from a place of finger pointing.
Yep.
And saying this is something you have to fix.
Yep.
Because in a relationship, the dynamic is always the couple, and so it's like this is a relationship challenge.
It is a relationship
challenge.
And
so it has to be approached that way. It can't be your problem, you deal with it. It has to be we have a challenge that we need to find some strategies for and solutions. And that's one thing someone without ADHD, the neurotypical person, can do is help them come up with solutions. Help them problem solve. If what they've been doing is not working, help them come up with better options to kind of tweak their tools a little bit to help them find better approaches to overcoming that challenge instead of saying your problem, you fix it.
Yeah, because it can't be. And every single, and I'm gonna say this, nearly every person that I've coached has that same problem where they come to me with no understanding from anybody around them, and it's the worst thing ever. It really is, and you kind of have this. You can't. Right. You can't even say that that's the thing. When you show up to work, can you imagine trying to say that to a boss? Like, you show up to work and they're like, why were you late again? I have ADHD. Wait a minute. You can't say that. You can't say that, right? So, like, you got to look at it that way. And when you do that, when you turn into a helper, you are a big helper, a huge helper. And that person will eventually start to accept themselves as that, and they will eventually start to grow because
right.
they're accepting themselves now. They can grow.
Right.
And there are
right.
little things and tricks and things that we can do, but without that growth and without that want to grow, they're not going to do it.
And you mentioned something that's like employment, showing up to work and saying, hey, I have ADHD. Well, the good thing is you can at least go to your HR and say, I have ADHD. So if you have a personal improvement plan, a PIP, you need to be going and getting an accommodation, and so there are with most large employers that ability by law to get those accommodations and reasonable accommodations, right? And something that we do, we help adults through PIP and help them learn about how to be successful in the workplace. Because there are a lot of things that employers can do to help you. For example, if mornings are difficult, I remember I had a job where I had to be there like at 7 a.m. And, I was teaching at the time. My students would show up to class where I did. It was very difficult. And I decided that semester, like, teaching is not for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It is not for me.
It's not for me either.
For multiple reasons, teaching in high school. I love teaching adults, but in high school, that was one of them because they had to be there so early. And my system just didn't work that way. And so every job I've had since then, I've had a later start. And so that was an accommodation. My employer allowing me to be at work at 9:00, and I was the one who stayed late, which worked great for them too. So it was a win-win. They had coverage a little later, and so that is an example of something that you can do. There's a whole list of accommodations in the workplace. If you're struggling in the workplace, know that there's help and there's support. So if you're an employer, you're HR, or if you're a coworker of someone, helping them come up with solutions so they can do their job. It's not that they can't do their job; they can do it, quite well. Oftentimes people with ADHD are overachievers actually, and they go over and beyond. They know what the stereotypes are, and they know what their tendencies can be in certain situations, and they try very hard. And the ones who have not developed their executive function skills, they may still be failing, but they want to do well. And so with the right kind of support from the people around them, they can be the star employee. And
because I'm a really good employee,
right.
And there's been lots of times where I've been fired from my job for being, habitually late. And I'm talking like 10 minutes late. I'm not even like super duper duper late, And this is, by the way, back in the day before I learned how to do this, how to be on time. But, I was fired from it. And I'm like, I'm actually really good at my job. And I just got fired because of that.
Yeah, that's very common for people with ADHD to be fired because of their executive function challenges.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, like leaving, here we go. I left the hose on. Okay, I worked at a dog kennel and a dog groomer. And I left the water hose on in the back of the... of the place and flooded the entire back room. And so they came in the morning and guess what?
Fired.
I was fired. I was like, and it wasn't like I was like, you did this and this really sucks. It was like, get the F out of here. Like, I mean, they were mad. They were so mad. Like, don't you ever set foot on our property ever again. And that's traumatizing because I didn't mean to do that. I know better than to leave a hose running. It's not like I meant to do it on purpose, and that sucks.
Right.
It really sucks to be in that position.
It does.
So,
Right.
but I'll tell you what, I'm probably never going to leave a hose running ever again.
Lesson
But it didn't need to have a traumatic reason, that reminds me not to do that. So,
right.
But anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I remember I was like 2 hours late one time to work, and I'm never late. I'm never, well, back in the day I was late, but I'll say
we're better now. We got better.
I'm never not there.
Yeah, I'm never not there.
I always show up. I may have been 5 minutes late, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, but I was always there, right? And so, but there was a day when I didn't show up, and it was supposed to be there at 9. It was like 12 or so, 11, and it's because with people with ADHD have sleep challenges, right? And so and I had a rough night and didn't get much sleep, and and no matter like what you do, alarms, whatnot, when your body is tired, people with ADHD are a lot tireder than the average. It takes a lot of energy, right? To have an ADHD brain, you need that sleep, and so. That was a failure, with me is when I woke up, I was panicked, like, oh my God. And I slept through all of my alarms. So that's a big thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully we have given you guys lots of ideas about how to be supportive.
Yeah, I think we can do another one on this too, honestly, because there's so many ways and that we can support somebody with ADHD.
Right.
Right. They need it. Yeah, they're functioning and they're in life and they seem smart sometimes. They need you. We need you.
Yes. So thanks for joining us today for today's topic on how to be supportive of people with ADHD, and join us again for our next session. And don't forget to like, subscribe,
share.
Yes.
Share.